In today's video, I want to talk to you about some of my favorite trading books of all time and the impact that they've had on my trading and my career. But before we do that, I want to talk to you a little bit about how I think that you should approach reading trading books. Because I think that so many new traders, they kind of come to the markets and they look for a book and they're looking for a specific strategy or they're looking for that secret sauce. And then oftentimes they get disappointed because, there are 1,000,001 different trading books out there and all of them are going to give you different nuggets of information. But I don't think there's any one complete approach out there, and the market's always changed. So, you might find a fantastic book that was written in 1980 something. And while some of the concepts are applicable today, perhaps the strategies that they're not. So, and I think that a lot of people, they miss out because they'll look at these books and they'll think that they're outdated strategies, and then they're missing out on some of those nuggets of information that can really help them. So the way that I approach looking at when I start to read a book based on trading is I'm not looking for a particular strategy. I'm looking for a concept. I'm looking for a principle that perhaps I can apply to my trading or I can add to my overall approach to the markets. Whether that be a technical concept or maybe a psychological one, or perhaps even, the way that some people look at the markets or the way that they approach their trading. I'm just looking for little things to take away from books that can overall sort of enhance my trading. And some books are obviously better than others. So there are some books that really won't give you very much, and there will be some that give you a hell of a lot. And then there'll be others where you might pick up just one or two things. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to talk about some of the books I feel that every trader really should read, at some point in their trading career. But before we get into it, please make sure if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button and also hit the bell so that you get a notification as and when I release a new video. All right, so trading books, and which ones do I like? Well, as I just said, what I'm looking for in a book is perhaps a little bit different to what you may be looking for in a book, particularly if you're new to trading. So new traders are looking for books that are very much based on strategy. So they want to know, what's the latest and greatest price action strategy, and they'll sort of engross themselves in these books. They're like these massive volumes of books, like maybe Steve Nison's Candlestick book or something like that, where it's just so much technical jargon and you're looking at 500-600 pages of information that really is just going to put you to sleep, right? And the truth of the matter is that yes, these books, there may be 600 pages of technical setups and patterns and things, but ultimately it always boils down to sort of like a few core patterns that are going to make you money. You don't need to know 1,000,001 different patterns. You don't need to know how, the meaning of every single economic indicator out there. You just need to understand a few key concepts that are going to help you with your trading. So when you're looking for a trading book, what I would say is, first of all, sort of maybe settle on an approach that you're sort of drawn to, that you gravitate towards. Now, if you're new in the markets, that might be a little bit more difficult. So you might have to do a little bit more research around the time that you have to trade, whether you like looking at the news, whether you like looking at charts and things like that. Once you've settled on a particular approach, look for some strategies that may suit your trading, but don't necessarily look at a book to be able to give you everything that you need, okay? So for example, one of my favorite books of all time is this one here, and you can see that it's actually quite worn. And this is Pitbull by a gentleman by the name of Marty Schwartz. And he was actually mentioned in the Market Wizards book. He started trading back in sort of like the 70s, maybe even as early as the late 60s, but certainly the 70s. He wasn't successful for a long period of time. He was an analyst on Wall Street. And then he decided that things needed to change. He didn't want to be an analyst. He wanted to give a go of this whole trading thing. And he set out on a path to become a great trader. And he achieved that. And he did that as a technical trader, right? So he looked at charts, he looked at levels and things like that. And he ultimately, he became one of Wall Street's all-time greats, making ridiculous returns on a month-on-month basis. But if you're reading this book looking for a specific strategy, you're not going to find it there. Yes, towards the back of this book, there is some information on his approach. And throughout the book, he talks about some of the things that he looks at. But one of the things that I got from this book more than anything else was more of sort of like an inspirational story, of somebody that spent 10 years trying to make some money in their retail trading account as an analyst, and then decided to go all in. And when they went all in, their general approach to the market is what made them successful, right? And that's what I take from that book. And also some of his stories, some of his losses, the way that he handled his losses, the way he talks about, letting the cash bell ring and making some profits on a day-by-day basis. They're all things that stuck with me to do with his approach, particularly as a day trader. So going back sort of, five or so years when I was very heavily into day trading, this is something that helped me a lot, not from a strategy perspective, but more from sort of like a mindset perspective and the way that he approached the markets. If I then look at something like George Soros's book, now this one here, the thing that I took from his particular book was the way that he looks at money, because his upbringing was so difficult. He fled from Hungary at an early age, and he had to sort of go through the Second World War and things like that. He faced, and in his book, he talks about the fact that he faced some massive adversities, and when it then came to investing his money, it didn't seem such a big risk. So his overall approach to the market was very different based on his attitude to risk. And that's something that I took from this book that perhaps I wouldn't take from this, because they've got different experiences. This book, One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch. So one of his concepts to do with diversification is something that we apply very heavily right now to do with the way that we approach the FX markets. And a lot of people say just focus on one currency pair, just focus on the one pair or one instrument and get to know how that works, how that moves, and become a master of that. Whereas Peter Lynch talks about the fact not just diversifying for the sake of diversifying, but how diversification can actually help you mitigate a lot of your risk. And we apply some of those principles in our trading today. The same way as this book, When Genius Failed, which is about long-term capital management. So a big hedge fund in the 90s they were set up by some Nobel Prize winners, and they made astronomical returns. They were sort of the big thing in Wall Street at the time, and eventually they imploded. But I got a number of things from this particular book, from the way that they have the sort of reversion to the mean type strategy, all the way to the fact that they got so arrogant that they ended up blowing up. So even the smartest minds in the world, if they don't pay attention to risk management, they can blow up. So that's something that I got from that book there. A book just a good read, bit of an inspirational story, is this one by Nikolas Davas, which is How I Made $2 Million in the Stock Market. And this one is more or less sort of like support and resistance trading. He talks about a box approach to the way that he would get into and out of stocks, and how sort of early on he wasn't so successful, but eventually he sort of found his niche, if you like. He found his way of trading, and he made a significant amount of money. And it's quite interesting. It's quite sort of inspirational, which is obviously always good. Not necessarily a massive amount in terms of teaching or technical strategy. And even though I did mention support and resistance, it is just a basic approach to the markets. And I think one of the things that I get from a lot of these is the fact that it doesn't have to be all that complicated. Your trading approach, that from reading all of these books from all of these people that did so well, you kind of see that there is no secret sauce. Everybody has a different way of trading. They don't try to overcomplicate it, and they find something that works for them, and it makes money. And that's what you have to do. If you read the Market Wizards book over here, and I've got a lot of these. And I like reading these books again, because I'm not necessarily looking for one particular strategy. I'm just looking for mindset, the way that they approach the markets. And really, proof of the fact that there are so many different ways to make money, that ultimately, if you're focusing on the technical strategy, it's probably the wrong place to be focusing on. You need to focus on yourself as a trader, on making yourself better and getting better at, ultimately executing your trades. And that's something that, again, sort of going to a different book over here, that Mike Bellafiore writes about in One Good Trade. He's actually got two books. I prefer this one, to be completely honest with you. But this one, again, he talks about, he runs a prop firm in New York, and he talks about the way that they sort of focus on, becoming better traders from a performance perspective. So not necessarily just from one setup, because they run a proprietary trading desk, and everybody has their own sort of strengths and he encourages them to review their trading and find out what they're good at and do more of what they're good at. And that can be different, from trader to trader. It's not just one trader or all of the traders look at one particular strategy. Each trader has their own unique strength. And that's something that you have to understand, is that, just because something works for me, it may not work for you. If something doesn't work for me, it doesn't mean that it's not going to work for you. You have to find, something that you can identify with, something that you can believe in, and that's the way that you will make money overall. A great book, and we can't have any two great books, and we can't talk about, trading books without mentioning these, is obviously Trading in the Zone by the late Mark Douglas. He also wrote The Disciplined Trader, which is a great read as well. So it's a little bit more difficult to get through that one. But combine those two books, and particularly this one, Trading in the Zone, is a great one from a psychological perspective. It talks to you about how you need to approach your trading, how you need to sort of take away the market's ability to cause you pain, and how you have to focus on your edge, your statistical edge, which I talk about a lot during these videos here. But this is a great book for it. It sort of takes you through different theories and things like that, and different ways that you can approach getting a hold of your trading psychology, which is very, very, very important. So this is one that you absolutely have to read. And then you've got the classic Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. Now, this is a book, funnily enough, that I didn't read this for a long while. I kind of wasn't interested in it. And I think probably the reason was, in the early days, I was all about FX. I was like, Forex this, Forex that, right? And this had Reminiscence of a Stock Operator. So I was sort of, in that newbie phase where I'm thinking, well, stock operator, how's that going to be applicable to me? How's that going to help me? And again, I understand if you're in this particular part of your trading career where you're only looking for Forex books of a certain nature, but you have to understand that every trading book, has different things that it can give to you. And actually, probably, this is one of the most powerful books. The way that he, it's his overall story. So it's not just about strategy. It's a way that he, basically went about his trading, the way that he developed and evolved as a trader from a tape reader to someone that sort of followed fundamentals more. And again, this is something that we incorporate in our trading, including our trading in the FX market. So don't be discouraged, and don't sort of veer away from books that perhaps don't have Forex written all over it, or sports betting written all over it, or whatever. You have to understand that what you get from these books and from these traders and these people that have been successful, in the markets, what you get from them is more their mindset, their approach, their inspirational story. It will motivate you to do better. And probably most importantly, it will show you that there is no secret. There are so many ways to make money trading these markets. You just need to find something that works for you, okay? So I hope you enjoyed this video here. As I said, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. If you like this video and you'd like me to do maybe some sort of more specific book reviews on individual books rather than talk about them in general, let me know. And I'll do some videos where I talk about, not long videos, but where I talk about some of the trading books in more detail. I tell you what, the specifics of what I like about them, what I didn't like, things that you can take away. And we'll do things like that. But, as I said, they're trading books, if nothing else, they're a little bit entertaining. And you will get certain concepts from some of them. Some are better than others. But the one thing that I definitely would say is don't necessarily look for a trading book to be the be-all and end-all. It's not going to give you everything that you need to go and become a successful trader, because a lot of that is internal. And actually, by reading some of the books that aren't just about technical strategy or fundamental strategy, but reading stories of people's lives and people's and famous traders sort of takes on the market, which, like I said, is why the Market Wizards books are so good. And in fact, whereas I've got one of his latest ones over here, because I thoroughly enjoy reading these books. And it's not necessarily to learn loads, it's just to get sort of unique perspectives on things. And actually, before we do wrap it up, another Market Wizards book here, just to show you another thing, is Alexander Elder's book and his sort of three time frame trading approach and things like that. Again, I don't trade everything that he talks about in his various different books. Got this one in Trade for a Living. But his multi-time frame analysis is something that I do subscribe to. And again, it's an example of taking, a little bit from different things and knitting it together into something that ultimately you believe in and is going to make you a successful trader, okay? So again, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, then you'll get a notification as and when I release a new video. And post in the comments below and let me know if you'd like, more videos like this, more specific videos on, we'll just talk about one trading book for a video. And then we'll go from there. I'll also put a list of the books that I've got on the table right here. These are some of my favorite trading books of all time, just so that you know which ones they are. Then you can run along to Amazon and grab them if you want or not. And also let me know if there are any trading books that I haven't mentioned that you feel are particularly good reads, and I'll go away and have a read of those. Okay? So thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next video. Take care now.